Have you ever had a moment where everything just clicked? 1 second you were struggling, stuck in confusion, and the next you could see the truth absolutely clearly, almost like a hidden door in your mind just cracked open. One moment you're angry with someone, and in an instant you find forgiveness because you can see that they really had no choice other than to be upset because that's where they are in their life right now. Maybe you've been feeling like money is hard to make. You've been living in a fear of financial insecurity, and the next moment you see how abundant the world is and that you've always had enough and been taken care of. What is this phenomenon that we call seeing? We say, wow, I see that now, despite the fact that there's nothing physical in front of our eyes. We can taste, we can touch, we can smell, we can hear, we can see, but what is this special seeing that holds the key to unlocking new possibilities for us? Is this a sixth sense that we were never taught? And is there a way that we can actually develop this sense of seeing so that breakthroughs and miracles become an everyday phenomenon? Because seeing isn't just a thought, it is a total reorganization of perception. And here's what's crazy. That shift doesn't just change how you think, it literally changes your brain, your emotions, your nervous system, and ultimately, your reality. Today, we're breaking down the neuroscience, the psychology, and the metaphysics of what I call seeing, so you can understand how to leverage this super sense to become, well, superhuman. So what is seeing? Seeing, when you have a breakthrough, it feels like you've discovered something new. But here's the truth. The information was always there. You just weren't seeing it because the brain is constantly filtering reality. It decides what's relevant based on what you believe and what you expect. Neuroscience tells us that 88% of what's going on around you on a day-to-day basis is filtered out of your conscious perception. Now, this means that most of the time, you're not seeing objective reality. How crazy is this? You're seeing a version shaped by your past experiences and subconscious programming. People talk all the time about how we shouldn't put ourselves into altered states through the use of hallucinogenics or drugs. Well, we're living in an altered state all the time. And this is why people can look at the same situation and perceive completely different things. Take two people who lose their jobs. One experiences it as the end of the world. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay the rent? The other experiences it as a fresh start, a sign from the universe that there are bigger and better things on the way. We all know people like that. Here's the crazy thing. You can actually control how you experience your reality. And the moment you see something differently than the way you've been seeing it is the moment your brain updates its filter and allows new possibilities in. In the spiritual traditions, enlightenment is described as awakening. It's not that something new is added, it's that illusions fall away. And before the change in this perspective, you're trapped in a limited perception. Life is constricted, and the mind comes up with all kinds of reasons for these restrictions. And this is what we see today, holding people back from getting to the next level of their health, from having really connected relationships, from growing their businesses, from really living their purpose in the world. There are ideas like there's not enough time, or money is hard to make, or I'm not good enough, or I did something wrong. And this keeps us trapped in the asleep state. But the moment you see something, the illusion cracks and a deeper truth is revealed. You see that the narrative that our mind was telling us was never true in the first place. And when that happens, the filters are pulled back and you start experiencing your life differently. This change in perspective is referred to in scripture as a revelation. Why? Because something new is revealed and a new perspective emerges. In fact, a new upgraded version of you gets released. And this is why major breakthroughs often feel like waking up from a dream. Because up until that point, we were living in an illusion, and the ability to see through the illusion actually facilitates this awakening process. So now let's get into the science of this, because what's happening in your brain during an aha moment is nothing short of fascinating. And so even though breakthroughs feel like magic, they're actually the result of a specific neurological process, a reorganization of your brain's neural networks, a shift in brain waves, and a neurochemical reward system that reinforces the new perspective. And so first, I want to talk about the default mode network, or the DMN. The DMN is a network of brain regions that work together when you're daydreaming, reflecting, or making sense of your identity and experiences. And it's constantly active in the background, shaping how you see yourself and the world. This is a really important function because the DMN acts like a mental filter, reinforcing your existing beliefs and assumptions, and it keeps your perception stable, which is useful. But it also means that if you have a limiting belief, your DMN will keep feeding you evidence that it's true. So for example, if you believe I'm bad at business, your DMN will highlight every past failure and downplay your successes. It's not trying to hold you back. It's just trying to stabilize and make sense of reality based on your past experiences. But here's the key. When you have these aha moments and you shift your perspective as a result of being able to see that your limiting belief isn't true, your DMN quiets down. And when that happens, something amazing takes place. New information bypasses your mental filter. And this is why seeing often feels like seeing something obvious for the first time. That's why we call it an aha moment, because it's not that the information was missing before, it's that your brain was literally filtering it out. Now, there's another really significant phenomenon that occurs when you see something new, and that's related to your brain waves. Because this shift in perception isn't just a change in thinking, it's a change in the frequency of your brain's electrical activity. Now, stay with me for a moment, because those of you who are really into metaphysics and law of attraction and vibration are going to love this, because it's going to connect the science with the spirituality. When you're overanalyzing a problem, your brain is in high beta waves. Okay, these are fast, focused, and great for logical thinking, but terrible for creativity. This is why overthinking often leads to frustration instead of breakthroughs. And if you think about it, when we're problem solving, it's a very linear, logical process. But when we're in our creative space or daydreaming, it's very non-linear. All innovation and all new things that we create in our life are the result of combining ideas or concepts that were never combined before. And this is not what occurs when you're focused on the problem. But the moment you see something different, your brain shifts into alpha and theta waves. And these are slower, more relaxed frequencies associated with deep intuition, subconscious processing, and creative problem solving. What follows the breakthrough are often spikes in gamma waves. And these are the fastest brain waves associated with moments of heightened clarity, integration, and enlightenment. So this shift in brain activity explains why these breakthroughs often happen when you're not actively trying to figure something out. For example, think about when you suddenly got a breakthrough in the shower or on a walk or right before falling asleep. That's because you've entered an alpha or theta state, allowing your brain to connect ideas in a way that wasn't possible when you were forcing it in beta. Here's what gets even more interesting. These breakthroughs rely heavily on your right hemisphere. So the left hemisphere of your brain is analytical. It processes things step by step, following linear logic. But the right hemisphere is responsible for big picture thinking, creativity, and recognizing patterns. And so when you see something and you have a breakthrough, your right hemisphere is taking seemingly unrelated ideas and connecting them in a new way. It's zooming out and seeing the whole picture instead of just the parts. So for example, this is why creative breakthroughs often feel like a sudden realization rather than a logical deduction. Your brain wasn't piecing things together one step at a time. It was making a non-linear leap in understanding. And studies show that during moments of new perception, the right anterior superior temporal gyrus, a small region in the right hemisphere, becomes highly active. And this is the part of your brain responsible for seeing patterns and making intuitive leaps. Hey, it's David. Quick announcement before we get back to your episode. Our annual event, the Powerful Living Experience, is coming up. There's a link in the show notes, or you can visit powerfullivingexperience.com. Check out the video of last year's event. We're going to be bringing together 1,000 impact-driven entrepreneurs, leaders, and game changers to spend 3 days doing what matters most. going really, really deep on identifying the limiting beliefs and subconscious programs that are still preventing you from your full potential, and going through deep experientials and trainings and transforming them. We're also going to be getting into concepts like wealth creation, purpose, greatness, money, relationships, health. And if you're an entrepreneur, we're going to be spending about 20% of that event opening up my business playbook, the same strategies and tactics and techniques that we use to go from $0 to $30 million in an impact-driven business, while spending 90% of my time doing what I love. There's nothing like the Powerful Living Experience. Inc. named it a top 3 must-attend personal development event for entrepreneurs and leaders, and I want to see you there. We've got some discounted tickets right now, plus some additional bonuses. Again, all the information is in the link in the show notes, or you can jump on over to powerfullivingexperience.com, get registered, and I will plan on seeing you there along with 1,000 other impact-driven, incredible members of our community for 3 days that you will never forget. And now, back to your regularly scheduled episode. Now, if you ever wonder why a breakthrough feels so satisfying afterwards, that's because your brain releases dopamine, which is the reward transmitter, immediately after a breakthrough. And so dopamine plays a key role in motivation, in learning, and reinforcing behaviors. And when your brain rewards a breakthrough like this with a dopamine hit, it's encouraging you to keep expanding your perception. And this is why, in many ways, personal growth starts to feel addictive, and we can get stuck wanting the next level of personal growth and beating ourselves up for kind of staying at the same level, because once you've had one breakthrough, you crave more. And it's also why some of the greatest minds in history, like Einstein or Tesla or Da Vinci, were obsessed with discovery, because their brains were wired to seek these breakthroughs, this seeing, because each one triggered a biochemical reward. And here's something wild. Dopamine isn't just linked to learning, it's also connected to focus. And so studies show that when you're excited about a possibility, your brain releases dopamine, which makes you more likely to notice and act on opportunities that align with your new insights. And so this is why this seeing process, or pulling back the old filters of limiting beliefs and limitation, are critical if you're wanting to make more money, if you're wanting to grow a business, if you're wanting to have a more expansive life, and if you're wanting to achieve your full potential, because those things do require action, which requires motivation, and this is the chemical that gets us motivated. Now, here's where it gets even more powerful. When you change the way you see, you change what's possible in your life. And this isn't about thinking differently, it's about shifting your entire vibrational field. So before a breakthrough, your nervous system is often in the sympathetic expression, some form of mild stress or fight or flight, trying to figure it out. But the moment you see the truth, your body relaxes and the tensions drop. You're no longer living according to the limitation, you're living into the expansion. You're no longer believing that money is hard to make, but prosperity is your birthright. You're no longer believing that you're going to be alone for the rest of your life, but that you're never alone because you have a relationship with a higher power and your soulmate is on the way. So when you have these discoveries, you might even take a deep breath without realizing it. What's happening is a shift from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic function of your nervous system. And that's why breakthroughs provide such relief. It's like you've let go of something heavy. Studies show that deep realizations actually synchronize the heart and the brain. There's a group called the HeartMath Institute that's done a tremendous amount of research around heart-brain coherence. And this is why some truths feel undeniable. It's like you finally discovered the real truth and you feel connected, maybe a oneness phenomenon, because your entire being resonates with this truth, not just your mind. Your nervous system becomes completely activated at a higher vibration. And this is how you start to activate even greater levels of intentional manifestation. Seeing differently doesn't just change how you think, it literally re-engineers your entire reality. And that's because law of attraction isn't just about thinking positive, it's about perception. You can only attract what you're able to perceive as possible. And when you perceive things differently, you vibrate at a different resonance. You start to vibrate at the frequency of what it is that you want. But when you're locked into an old paradigm or a belief system, you don't believe something is possible, and so you don't see opportunities and you're not resonating at that frequency. But when you experience this phenomenon of seeing, your brain updates and new possibilities enter your awareness. You start noticing synchronicities, you start noticing opportunities, and you start finding solutions that were always there, but now you can see them. And this is why breakthroughs often lead to rapid external changes in your reality. Your vibrational field shifts because your perception has expanded. Your brain has a filter called the reticular activating system that determines what you notice. So if you believe money is hard to come by, your reticular activating system will filter reality, confirm that belief. But the moment you have a breakthrough, the moment you see your reality differently, it shifts the function of your reticular activating system, which starts to highlight new opportunities. And this is why people experience sudden abundance after a breakthrough. It's not magic, it's neurophysiology meeting metaphysics. And all of this, everything that we've talked about today, creates a complete nervous system upgrade. It's actually called a whole system update. As a result of one small shift in perception, your brain rewires, your nervous system begins to resonate at a completely different frequency. You start to think differently. You start to feel differently. You start to perceive reality differently, which means reality is different for you. And you begin to activate the power of coincidence and synchronicity, all as a result of this special sixth sense superpower called seeing. So, how do we maximize this superpower? Well, the fastest way to maximize anything is to actually know how you did it in the first place. And all breakthroughs, all moments of seeing come down to just that one moment. And that is the moment that you experience something that you've been experiencing a particular way for a long, long time differently. It's the moment that you give a different meaning to an experience. Now, some people call this wishful thinking, but it's really understanding that your perception and the story you tell or the meaning you give an experience is everything. That the reality you're living in is just one dimension of reality that's based on the meaning you've been giving your life, and that any moment you can change the meaning. For example, how many times have you thought something bad happened in your life only to realize that it was one of the best things that ever happened to you? That's happened to me throughout most of my life. I dated a girl back in my early 30s who cheated on me not once, but twice, and broke my heart. But it was a result of dating that girl that I found the furry friend of my life. My little Chihuahua Dexter, who was with me for 14 years, we went to a breeder in Ocala, Florida, and that girl that I was dating picked out that little dog, even though I didn't want him because he looked like the runt of the litter. I never would have had Dexter if it were not for dating this girl, right? Tearing my shoulder. I tore my shoulder not once, but twice. We can see a theme here, yes? As a result of tearing my shoulder, I found a specialist 2 hours from where I lived. I was driving to see that specialist every week to get my shoulder worked on, and it was in that city, Sarasota, Florida, where I met my wife. Never would have met my wife if it weren't for tearing my shoulder. I look at the decades that I could perceive as having wasted in drug and alcohol and sex addiction. If it were not for that experience, I may never have built a relationship with my higher power, discovered the miracles of recovery, and been doing the work that I'm doing today. And so we can use what we've learned from the past and apply it to future present moments in that we see something different. And that is the process of upgrading. In other words, if I've learned that everything that I thought was bad in my life turned out to facilitate the good, the next time I experience something that I think might be bad, I can change my perception in that moment. When I do, I upgrade who I am. Now, I've got a ton of other videos that talk about how to go deeper into mastering this art of seeing. If you love this video, you're definitely going to want to check them out. And if you love this video, do me a favor. If you're listening on the audio platforms, subscribe and leave me a review. I love reading these reviews. If you're watching in studio on YouTube, do me a favor, leave me a comment. This is what I think. What do you think? What resonates with you? Share with me some of your experience. I try to read all the comments and respond to as many as I can. If you're not yet subscribed, absolutely do that and hit the bell icon so you get notifications. And most importantly, if you found this video enlightening or you just loved it, pay it forward and share it with somebody else, because we're all on this journey together. And the more we can understand this process of awakening, the more we can change our own lives and together change the world. So I love you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this with you, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community. and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.